Thank you everyone for joining us today on our webinar for driving direct bookings. Take the wheel on your PMC. So if you're joining us in the morning, good afternoon, good evening from around the world. I'm really excited for today's topic. We've got a very distinguished, great panel joining us. A little bit of a story about direct bookings and my personal experience with it. In 2019, when I joined Guesty, we went on this kind of roadshow of meeting our PMC clients across the United States and in Europe. And one of the common themes that we kept hearing from a lot of our users was, we want to create more brand awareness and we want to drive more direct bookings. At that time, when we would show the channel distribution for our accounts, it was very heavily OTA based with a small sliver of direct bookings. And one of the exciting things about the space is that as people kind of find these new areas to grow their revenue or grow their business, they really start to get more focused in them. And over the last few years, we've been seeing that sliver, that pie chart of direct bookings kind of increasing over the course of time. So I know that this is a very pertinent topic for a lot of the PMCs out there. And so we're really excited to kind of dive into that conversation with you today. A little bit about me, Paul Zukowskis. I'm the VP of Customer Success at Guesty. As I mentioned, started with Guesty in 2019 and have been loving every day since. Our panelists today are Paul Hannock from Intercoastal Net Designs. Intercoastal does a great job of building custom sites for direct bookings. And so just doing a lot of really exciting things and really has a strong understanding of how the key part that your direct booking site will play in kind of capturing those direct bookings as efficiently as possible. We're also joined by Oliver Marzinski. He's the head of business development at StayFi. StayFi, again, a great marketplace partner for Guesty, in which you're able to kind of capture all of the emails from the guest staying within your units. And then how do you leverage those emails for text message or email marketing? And then lastly, Tarana Tamai is joining us from VHC. VHC is a prominent international property management company, and Tarina heads up the head of marketing and revenue. So really excited to have this panel join us today, and I think we're really going to learn a lot about how do we capture those direct bookings and how do we optimize once we get people actively involved in our brand. A little bit about today's format. So I'll open with a few words, and then we'll get to our panelist presentations, and then lastly, the panel discussion. All right, so the summer is upon us. It's definitely heating up. And what we've noticed in the United States is that we're seeing a 58% increase in reservation volume over what we saw last year in 2021. This is almost 70% higher than what we saw in a pre-pandemic year in 2019. The UK is also following a very similar trend, over 50% higher than it was in 2021, and now really starting to recover 10% greater or 10% lower than what we saw in 2019. But I think that these numbers are going to increase as the season kind of continues. And so we don't see it, we're not necessarily projecting it to be lower than 2019. I think it'll be at par, if not a little bit higher. And then Australia, not the summer season heading into its winter season, but still 37% higher than what it was in the winter of 2019 for Australia. So as we start seeing kind of the demand of bookings rising, this also is coupled with the increase in ADRs and the pricing that we're seeing. And so in the United States, the average rate right now is around $444 per night over that June to August summer season. This is 15% higher than it was in 2021 last year, and then almost 50% higher, only 47, but almost 50% higher than it was in 2019. And so really what that's indicating to us is that there's a number of factors here, right? Supply and demand obviously drive higher pricing. There's also kind of this inflation that's going on in the United States today. And so if you haven't significantly increased your rates over 2019, you should really explore doing so and what the impact would be on your business. We're seeing that in the UK that we're 2% higher than we were last year and 25% higher than we were in 2019. And that's coming in at around £226 per night. And then Australia, 66% higher than it was during prior to the pandemic in 2019, around $313 per night. So I kind of touched on the UK and kind of what we're seeing in terms of the recovery there. And so there are two holidays coming up in the UK. One of them is in early May, and the other one is in early June. And so as we're looking at the numbers of what we're seeing for the early May holiday, we're seeing that it's actually less than it was in 2021, right? And so that's not great in terms of a signal for recovery. But when we look at the longer bank holiday, the one that will span over several days in late June, we are actually seeing a 76% increase over what we saw in 2021. I think the combination of multiple days and the longer stays is kind of a great indication that people are looking to travel in the UK. And this percentage is 1% higher than what we saw in 2019. And so, like I said, I think that we are projecting that in the UK specifically, that we will be seeing 2019 numbers, if not a little bit higher than that come summertime. All right, we're here to discuss direct bookings. And so let's get down to what are direct bookings and why are we trying to drive towards direct bookings? The way that we see it, direct bookings are commission-free reservations made via either phone, email, or direct booking websites. And essentially what you're doing is with every direct booking that you're taking, you're not seeing that same booking on an OTA. And so what are some of the benefits of direct bookings? Because you're not booking through an OTA, you are saving on those commission costs, sometimes upwards to 15% of the total accommodation fare. You're also in full control of the guest experience. And so you can customize that flow and you could attract more guests by offering kind of competitive pricing. And so let's say, for instance, you know that the OTA is collecting 15% of your total accommodation fare. Let's say that you actually discount only 5% on your direct booking site. That direct savings is going to the guest that's booking with you, but also you're seeing a 10% increase in revenue that you're collecting yourself. And then also, it's a great opportunity to build brand awareness. And through brand awareness, you're going to be able to drive repeat business to your direct booking site. So how is Guesty enabling a lot of this functionality? First off, we are trying to make sure that we're offering as many branding opportunities as we can, whether that's through your direct booking site or through check-in forms or through rental agreements. We want to make sure that your brand is front and center. We want you to be able to control specific pricing to your direct booking site. And so enabling that through our multiple calendar functionality, as well as once you are driving traffic to your direct booking site, how do you capture that guest information into a CRM and enable it? So Guesty is rolling out a lot of CRM capabilities to help you unlock kind of those repeat guests. And then lastly, ensuring that there is no drop-off between direct bookings and OTA-based bookings, in which we're automating a lot of that reservation management for you. So first up, we have Paul Panic that we'll be talking about ICND.
So I want to try and cover everything. But everything is, I'm talking about direct bookings, I'm talking about brand bumping, I'm talking about SEO stuff, and then return guests as well. Just so you know who we are, we've been around for 23 years, and we specifically focus on the vacation rental industry. We build custom websites that integrate with property management systems to, grab your data, display your photos, display your rates, availability, all that stuff. But we also have additional features that, we constantly thinking of. Obviously site speed is a big thing, but there's also things that we can glean from like hoteliers and stuff that we can use. And a lot of stuff that we offer is kind of first to market and has those advanced capabilities to make your site actually convert, book direct, and instill trust. But speaking of trust, let's talk about brand bumping real quick. So I'm going to power through these really quickly because I know that I just have a little bit of time here, but each one of these could be its own presentation altogether. And I'm always an open book, so feel free to reach out. I'll have my contact info at the end. But first off, with brand bumping, anytime you think about like increasing your brand, getting your direct booking website, 9 times out of 10, when I go to a potential client's website, they need some help. There's no uniqueness on the site, and that uniqueness is what's going to set you apart from every other website out there, especially if you're in a saturated market area. So whenever when somebody visits your site, that first thing that they see needs to have a little bit of personality on there, and needs to have some sort of big draw, And I'm not saying just put team photos on the homepage, but I'm saying, make sure your About Us page is good and built up, or about you. Airbnb does a great job of promoting the host, right? So keep that same mentality and personalize it a little bit, because people are used to Airbnb now, and if we can convert them from Airbnb, then that's kind of what we're looking for, right? So have that personality on your site as well. Make sure you have positive reviews, things you've done in the community, achievements, any unique features that you have on your properties. Make sure and point them out, because the first thing somebody does when they come to any website, I'm talking like 95% of all traffic here. Any website is they use that search bar and they find what's available. It's not until after they see whether or not you have something that might interest them that they'll actually start looking around and poking around to decide if they want to stay with you as a host and you as a company. So it kind of goes backwards, but something to think about. You see the tip on the screen: photos with more people invoke more emotion. So make sure that you have your team on there, have some photos, have you, anything you can do to add that personality in. Reviews, obviously important. I'm not going to harp on too much about this, but put your reviews on your site any way you can, and that really instills that trust there. But let's not forget about guest education too. Repeat guests, I'm going to talk about this in a bit, are easiest to get back, but you need to have a book direct page on your website to explain why, and explain why that people should book directly with you versus going through an OTA, because that's going to be like a kind of that clicking moment, right? So we're going to get more people educated about book direct. And book direct, as the hashtag, started a few years ago, and it has been gaining momentum. I think 4 years ago now, it's been gaining some good momentum. So it wasn't until COVID, when all the new faces started coming in to look for rentals, that we kind of had this boom of Airbnb and Vrbo and the OTAs coming back up. So something to think about. Definitely have a page dedicated to booking direct. All right, SEO 101. I hope I don't get too many glossy eyes here, but this one real quick. There's 3 things that rank websites. One, technical stuff that don't really have to worry about because that's on our shoulders. Proper content to satisfy the user. Content could be your properties. It could be the stuff that I just explained, about us, and then votes, endorsements. These are links from other websites to yours. The more links you have, the better. There's a lot more to it than that, but that's pretty much it in a nutshell. But one thing that a lot of people don't understand is when you want to rank for something, you need to build a page dedicated to it. So, if you have properties that people are searching for, like homes with game rooms or private pools, or just any kind of unique amenity that some people will type into Google, you need to build a page dedicated to that stuff. Oceanfront, beachfront, even sometimes 2-3 bedroom homes, depending on your competition in the area. Whenever you build those pages, then you can get ranked for them. There's more to it, but you got to kind of steer people down that path, right? And one other thing, as far as the pages go, even if, like, let's say, I just had a potential client this morning. They reached out about marketing for us and from us, and they had some amazing homes. They had 4 homes and 4 or 5 homes in Florida, in Kissimmee, Florida, just outside of Orlando, near Disney and everything. And these were some immaculate places, but they had themes for their the kids' rooms. One was a Harry Potter theme, one was Mario Brothers. But when you go into the living room and the master bedrooms, oh, luxurious, just amazing, amazing. But but the good thing is, though, is their first picture that they had was a picture of their game room. And that game room was what really drew your eye in, because that was themed as well. So with the air hockey table and then the pool table and stuff like that, so people do search for homes with game rooms, homes with themes, homes with children's themes. Those are things that people search for. So make pages for that stuff. One thing to be aware of is an SEO audit. I see so many people, go to SEMrush or something like that, or some other program out there, and they type in their website to see how well you're doing with SEO. But the thing is, with these audits, they kind of they're not smart audits. They tell you the best practice things that probably should be fixed, but even if you have an audit that looks like this, it doesn't mean that Google does not like your website. Google and these tools are two completely different things. So, take this stuff with a grain of salt, because this website is one of ours, and it ranks number 1 for the term that we want to rank for. And it ranks number 1 to 4 for the sub search terms. So whenever you're doing these tools out there, just keep in mind that like these algorithms are smart enough to look past past the errors, which are what these are, and figure out if your site is worthy for a user. So make it recognizable with things like that. EAT: expertise, authoritativeness, and trust. I know I'm going fast, guys, but there's a lot of stuff here. EAT is a SEO phrase, but it really can apply to you as well. Expertise is kind of what you're doing and why you're good at what you do. Authority and respect from other websites. Those are the backlinks. And then trust, but get your reviews out there everywhere. Privacy policy, about us page, all that stuff should be on your site. And finally, last slide, let's talk about direct bookings real quick. Not last slide, but last section. So just to let you know, bookings happen on computers and not phones. Now, this does vary, but something to look at, though, is mobile traffic. About 68% of this entire website's traffic. Desktop traffic, not so much. But look at the transactions, look at the bookings, and then look at the conversion rate. So people are on their phones looking, but not necessarily booking. But then they go to their computer to look at the bigger pictures, to look at more information about your company, and then they're going to pull the plug. Then they're going to put in that money. So we kind of saw that, and there's no good way to bridge that gap between your phone and remembering that you're sitting there at lunch on your work break, and you've got you've got it on your phone, but you want to show somebody at home on your computer, but there's no easy way. So we came up with a tool that's just we call it Remind Me to Book. This is actually my brainchild, so I'm kind of proud of this one. But on the final booking page, when people have the prices up and everything, it's got a Remind Me to Book. Remind me to book in 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and we get a lot of conversions from this, because people get the email from their phone, capturing an email, and then you can then use that to market to them. But then they have that property in their inbox waiting for them anytime they want to go from whatever device they're at. Just other features that you can have. Another quick study real quick. This is an example of one of our sites that we have a couple of years ago that the client wanted to kind of a layout in this format. But you can see here, we've got our rent, we've got our damage waiver, we've got our processing fee, we've got linen rentals, and then we've got travel insurance, which is optional. But this is an add-on. Do I have to have that? Is that included? Are you confused? I was confused. So we did this. We changed this. So we made it simple. Rent, taxes, total. Everything got moved into the rent. It was broken out internally. We did the total. And then we had optional travel insurance that will automatically, when you click it, it'll automatically change the total. Added in some calls to action not calls to action, urgency features here. And then just let it go to work. doubled our conversion rate for that site. So displaying your rates and the way that you have them displayed is a very important factor as well. So that's something to keep in mind whenever you're looking at your competitors in the area, whenever you're looking at doing stuff like that. It's huge. I'm coming up on time, but real quick for cart abandonment, this is kind of driving that home. Extra cost for too high was one of the main reasons. Shipping, taxes, fees, and this is not just vacation rentals. This is everything. And the other one that I wanted to show you was too long, too complicated of a checkout process. So those are things to work on your websites, and those things that we specialize in. And then remember to capture leads. Oliver will be talking about that more in a bit. And he's got a really good focus for that one, but we've got a whole bunch of tools as well on our sites to do that. And then, again, Oliver with StayFi is going to be talking more about the return guests and getting them back. And he's got a great platform for capturing email addresses. But just remember, your repeat guests are your best ones. Those are the ones that are going to, you can easily market to, easily get them back, and easily turn them into somebody that could be a brand ambassador to give you referrals and build up your brand as you're growing. I'll skip this one because it's a lot of all of our stuff. But icnd.net/checklist. We've actually got a checklist for you if you wanted to download it. It's a 59-point checklist, everything digital marketing, website related that you can have. And I'll put this link in the chat for you guys so you have it after I'm get done talking. But if you need my info, there it is as well. Whew.
Awesome. Thank you very much for that, Paul. Only a 59-point checklist. At least
just 50. We didn't tally them until the end, and it turned out to be 59, not 60.
Okay. Very cool. I think that there was a ton of really great stuff in there, and thank you for sharing that, Paul. Down to the personality, right? Like, you're exactly right. What is the personality of the PMC, and how are they reflecting that personality onto their direct booking site is so critical to kind of build kind of this brand continuity. Love the remind to book feature. I personally just went through a booking process, and you do the research and you're like, oh, I'll move on to the next one. I can find something better later. And then getting that reminder is like, oh, I didn't book anything. All right, let me go ahead and book right now. And then the way that you broke out the pricing, it seems like such a nominal change, right? Like the way that you're allowing people to kind of choose what they want to self-select into. And the fact that little kind of change that you guys made resulted in doubling the conversion rate. I guarantee everyone on the call today can use a doubling of their conversion rate, right? Because that's just that's straight cash. And that's why it's so important to kind of bring in the vertical expertise that you guys are showing in the space. And where can you kind of make these little tweaks to really have nominal, or not nominal, but great gains on your conversion rate? So great stuff, Paul. Thank you very much. We'll hear a little bit more from you when we get to the panel discussion. Now up is Oliver Marzinski from StayFi. Oliver, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Paul. Hello, my name is Oliver. I'm with StayFi here. And really what we focus on is creating those long-term relationships with your existing guests so that you build up that brand loyalty, that brand recognition. And then when they go to book their next stay, you're top of mind, and they'll book direct instead of, through an OTA here. They'll come back to your properties instead of booking with a different property manager. So once you've already given a guest that 5-star experience, just really bringing them back to your property here. So a little bit of my background. My background has been very revenue focused in the vacation rental space. So I started as a revenue manager in 2018, moved over to Price Labs, who is another vendor that focuses on dynamic pricing. And then finally, now I'm at StayFi here starting this year. So really, when I think about marketing, it really is about driving revenue. So this isn't just a checkbox that you're trying to check off. Hey, I should be marketing. It's really finding what works best for your properties, iterating on the process until you really have a system that is driving concrete revenue here. So a little bit about StayFi. We were founded in 2018, and our goal really is to try to make you less dependent on OTA. So making sure that your bookings aren't all coming from one place, and kind of insulating yourself, having a healthier spread of bookings here. So we focus on helping you collect and monetize information from all of the guests who are staying at your home so that you have a way of building your brand and reaching out to them in the future. We also focus on Wi-Fi performance with things like occupancy alerts, outage alerts, making sure Wi-Fi covers your entire property. That's not the focus of today's discussion, but definitely something we do here. So I'm talking about booking trends. Over the past 4 years, this data is coming from Beyond. They provided us with this slide, but over the past 4 years, we've definitely seen a decline in direct bookings as a portion of all bookings that are happening there. So really the number of direct bookings that are happening has stayed basically the same, but the number of total bookings has increased, and all of those new guests who are now, booking properties for the first time, they are going with the brands that they recognize. So let's say Airbnb, Vrbo, they're capturing a lot of that market for brand new guests. So since there's that big influx of potential guests who are now booking your properties, we're really trying to make sure that, hey, they booked the first time through the OTAs, but how do we capture them so that in the future they might book with you directly now that they know your brand and have been exposed to that? So essentially, how do we drive guests to book direct? It is by getting your brand in front of them. They didn't book with the OTAs for the first time by hearing about the OTA once. It's all about having multiple touch points where they're exposed to you over time, so having, let's say, SMS, email, social, really getting to that guest in a lot of different places so they know your brand, they recognize you, and they might book with you in the future here. So step one, of course, of getting in front of guests will be collecting information from all the guests. Best places to do this, your direct booking site, current guests who are at your property right now, and then through your PMS. So if anyone has booked directly through you, you of course do have access to that info, and just making sure that you're using it here. When we talk about collecting data, things to keep in mind, really making sure that it's correct, direct, and personalized. So knowing, hey, what is the best way to reach out to these guests in the future? Is it over email? Is it text? Is it social? Where do we have these conversion rates? Where do guests want to hear from us? And then on the personalized side of things, really knowing what your guests are looking for. So where did that data come from? Did it come from someone who submitted a form on your direct booking site and is looking to maybe book a property in the future? They'll need very different information from you. Different information will be valuable versus, data that you've collected from someone who is currently staying at your house. So later we'll cover, what some of these marketing campaigns can look like based off of where people are providing the data. Then also knowing what types of homes they're looking for. If your portfolio has, some luxury villas that sleep 30 people, your marketing should be very different than if you also have, 1-bedroom apartments or condos on the beach. That segment of guests is completely different here. So in terms of collecting emails, best place to do it is your direct booking site. People who are on your direct booking site, they already have a very high intent to book. So they're likely to either be considering booking with you or considering booking a vacation in your area. So even if they don't book with you, you do want to capture their information so you can build that brand awareness and try to get them to book with you in the future here. So a few tools that we've seen have pretty great success with some of our property manager here. Just having those pop-ups and website forms, so places where people can submit either their email, their phone numbers, opting into your social campaigns. With this, really the best way to do it is offering them something in exchange for submitting their email. So most people don't say, hey, I want to join a mailing list, but a lot of people do say, hey, I'm looking to book a vacation right now, $100 off and a guidebook to, hey, here's all the best things to do. That does sound pretty enticing, and that is worth me giving you my email so you can email me that offer here. Otherwise, we've seen things with different social campaigns. So saying, hey, follow us, use this hashtag. In exchange, you might win a free vacation. And then, so really making it a two-way street where they are getting value. You're not just asking for value from them. Perfect. So then the next thing here is really what StayFi specializes in. And this is collecting data from current guests here. So essentially what we're doing is trying to target those guests who have already stayed with you. They've already had a 5-star experience at your property. They had the best vacation in the world. They're very likely to consider booking with you in the future so they can repeat that experience there. So of course, if that booking came in through a third-party channel, you won't have their contact information. You won't have the contact information of everyone who stayed at the property who might consider rebooking you. So what we do is when the guests log into Wi-Fi, we collect their information right here so that you can add them to your marketing mix, build that brand awareness, and hopefully get that as a direct booking in the future here. With this, we do validate every single email. So this goes with making sure that the data that you're marketing to is correct. So making sure you aren't getting, bounced messages that hurt your email reputation. Make sure you can actually reach those guests with that collect email. Perfect. So after you've collected all of the data, it's of course time to start getting in front of the guests here. So talking a little bit about that marketing mix here, email has traditionally been where most people start. And email, has been proven to be an exceptionally effective way of communicating with your guests. So HubSpot ran a study where in 2021, email essentially had a 4,200% ROI, where for every $1 spent, $42 of revenue were generated there. So with direct bookings, when we are talking about any of these strategies, there's definitely that upfront cost where, yes, it does take a little bit of time. It does take a little bit of effort. It does take that $1 to set these things up, but then you are setting yourself up for success with getting those repeat bookings that are, of course, commission free, as we've been talking about here. Perfect. And when we're thinking about email marketing, what makes it exceptionally effective is it really is a direct line of communication with all of your guests. So whether that's a potential guest who submitted their info online or if it's a current guest, but this isn't just a way to follow up with them and ask them to book your property in the future. You can really use this to improve the guest experience. So making sure that the guest is happy during their stay, addressing any concerns as they're still at your property, upselling any potential, features, functionalities, so rentals, extra days, late checkouts, and so on. And then also after the stay, collecting reviews to grow your brand. So, reviews, that's something that's very easy for a guest to submit, very high value for you to collect. Most guests don't do this unprompted, but if you can push people to leave those reviews, that's a way they can definitely help you grow here. So talking about what a email automation campaign might look like here. This is what we typically recommend you set up. So when we're talking about email, this is not, manually reaching out to all of your guests, asking them all these things. This is just setting up a drip campaign that will do this for you automatically. So let's say on day 0, they check in, they log into the Wi-Fi, they immediately get a welcome message that has helpful resources, information on how to reach you, just ensuring that they have a great stay. Day 1, you check in with the guest, make sure they're happy, make sure everything's going well, show them all that upsell information that you potentially have. And then at checkout, let's say day 7, day 15, whenever they might be checking out, sending them a message. Hey, we hope everything went well. Let us know if you have any feedback, leave us a review. We would greatly appreciate it here. And then from there, after their stay, that's where you have those multiple touch points. So building just that brand awareness that, hey, you can book direct, 6 months later, maybe when they're thinking about booking their next vacation, inviting them to rebook, providing promotions and offers and so on. So these are definitely things we recommend automating here on that email marketing side. Recently, StayFi moved into the text marketing side of things. So what's nice about text marketing, we recommend similar campaign strategies to email marketing, where you are sending welcome messages, you are asking for reviews, you are asking people to rebook direct, but text marketing has a 98% open rate. So if someone opts into text marketing, if you can collect that information, it's much more likely that they will actually see your messages and actually take action on them. So we do the exact same thing with text marketing as you can do with email here, where you can automatically send those welcome campaigns, bulk messages, ask guests to leave reviews, of course, pre-vetting them to make sure they're going to be 5-star reviews that they're leaving on the different platforms, and and going from there. So really just another way of getting in front of them as you're doing all this, of course, tracking what's effective, what is leading to conversion. So if, let's say, email isn't getting you results, but text is, really doubling down on text to make sure you are getting that ROI here. Then finally, I know I'm low on time here, but the last thing I'll mention is on the social marketing side, really simple things that you can do are putting Facebook pixels either on your direct booking site or in tools like StayFi. So everyone who logs into your Wi-Fi now, they will be targeted by any marketing campaigns that you have running. So let's say they log into the Wi-Fi for the next week during their stay. All they see is Instagram ads for your properties. They now associate their great vacation with your brand name. That's kind of the best way to instill your brand in their minds. And build that brand awareness here. So a simple thing you can set up that does have high returns here. So that's all I have. For any Guesty users, we're of course happy to talk. We'll have our contact info out here, but we do have an offer for Guesty user, both on the software and hardware side and everything with StayFi. I mean, it's self-serve. So we're happy to talk with you. We're happy to help if you need help, but you can also sign up directly for the system, no contracts or anything. And start collecting more of that data to market to and build that brand here. So perfect. I will pass it on to Tarina, but thank you guys.
Hey, Oliver, thank you very much for that. I mean, that's a lot of really valuable information there. I mean, you touching on knowing your guest and making sure that you're targeting your kind of campaigns to the guest persona is so important. I know that if you are able to actually understand your guest, their persona, that your percentages of conversion and your ROI that you're talking about is going to go well beyond even the 42,000 or 4,200, return on your investment. It's going to be, you're going to see a higher conversion if you do know that guest and their persona. So thank you very much for that. A lot of great stuff. We'll hear more from Oliver in a little bit. And now turning it over to Tarina. Tarina, please tell us a little bit more about VHC and all the great things that you guys are doing to create brand awareness and direct bookings.
So hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here and to be sharing a bit more about the VHC story. I believe it's very unique because what we're going to be talking about is the way that we managed to capitalize on a different direct distribution. So basically, I just want to talk a little bit about who VHC is. So we're a short-term rental company. And basically, VHC has a very beautiful story since it was founded about 15 years ago. And the idea of the first VHC was really to take Latin Americans to Orlando in Florida. And that was a nice story because what VHC learned throughout the way, it was to work with two types of audience. So the regional audience and the international audience as well. So this way they could also mix and play with seasonality and ensure that the occupancy would be high throughout the year. And last year, VHC was 100% acquired by CVC Corp. So let me change, yes. CVC Corp is the largest tourism organization in Latin America and also one of the largest worldwide. And what is nice about CVC Corp is that the company is public held, and that was about 10 years ago. So it's a very stable and reliable company. And the group also has different brands, not only in Brazil and Argentina and Latin America, but also in the US. And together with its 12 brands, also CVC Corp has almost 2 million guest accommodations per year, which is quite a lot. So what was nice about here is that VHC, which was highly focused on the experience, or not only for the guest, but also for the homeowner, was also acquired by a company in the tourism industry that had a great know-how and knowledge and distribution and experience as well. So what I'm going to try to bring in different moments here is that for VHC, we are very focused, and we've been even more focused after the acquisition on the experience, because we believe that the brand proof is the most important thing. We can be talking about the promising, and we need to do that during the storytelling. But it's important also to be doing the story listening. So understanding what our customers are saying and looking at their reviews and the performance as well. So with the CVC acquisition, we really had a very challenging target because we really had to do an aggressive growth, which makes sense because we had an external investor. But with this challenge, many opportunities came. So we had additional investment. We also had the power of the CVC brand. And with CVC also, we had new distribution channels coming to the mix. So what we did with all the opportunities that we had, with the additional investment, we really invested to bring amazing leaders from the industry. So this really helped us to emphasize and work on our brand proof, not only ensuring that we have a huge and an amazing level of excellence. You can see that in our reviews. So we're really working hard to get all the insights that we have and transform that into action. But also we do have people that they are great advocates also. This is also helping our employer branding. And there is also a big impact. Also with the CVC brand, we saw that this would be a great opportunity for us to use their brand to when we are like dealing with key stakeholders, not all the final consumers, but there is a great opportunity here for some of the distribution channels and on the also homeowner side as well and realtors as well. On the distribution part, so CVC came with an amazing pool of channels. So I think that's something very particular for VHC. And I think it's nice when you think about a little bit out of the box, because our direct distribution is not only on our website, but we do that through partners in companies that they are part of our group. So with CVC, we started leveraging their own channels as well. So just to be a little bit more focused on the actions. So employer branding is something that we've been very focused on. And just helps also the booking. Everything's connected. Again, employer branding for us is something that we believe because it's related to the brand truth also. And we also ensure that everyone that works at VHC, especially the business development team, they do have access to content and collaterals. And not only that, but that they can come also with great ideas because we're a global company and we're very lean. So we are really listening to local ideas as well. Again, we need to be dealing with the international, right, audience, but also the regional audience as well. So we really believe in the capability also of the local teams, which is quite spread out throughout the US. And another opportunity that we had was to leverage more some of the CVC values, which was also aligned with the VHC staff also ways of working, including sustainability, diversity, especially because we are an international company, so we really value the diversity and the collaboration. So as I mentioned, so we started using more the CVC brand in our communication, which was great. And this includes not only press release, we also do that in our website, prospects, but we also use their channels of communication as well. So their own CRM. So it's an opportunity for us to use their channels for relationship and touch points as well. And on top of that, we even created a collab. So a campaign that was called CVC Homes by VHC. Actually, it was even like a brand that it was a type of JV. And this also brought great success for us. So we really tried to be very creative with the way that we could operate with partners. Something that I want to emphasize here is the distribution strategy. So I will start with the last one. So differently than some of our competitors, we really prioritize a healthy mix of distribution. And I'm very proud to say that we have no channel today representing over 35%, because we believe that when you have a healthy, it's not that you are not only dependent, right? Because that's a big risk, but it can also play better with your occupancy, with your ADRs. So that's something that we do. And throughout this distribution, of course, that we do have OTAs, and they are quite important, and we have a great relationship with them. But we also have our direct channels. So not only the VHC website, but we are present on the CVC, B2C, and also B2B website, and Trend as well, some of other brands that CVC has got. And everything is also connected, or when we say direct sales, everything integrated through APIs. So that's a very smart way of working. So just to recap, so some of our big chains in the past year. So we had the additional investment, which we really invested to bring the best talents. And also with the CVC impact, we're really learning how to leverage more the brand of our partner in a very smart way. And when it comes to distribution, we do have different ways of direct distribution, which is great for us. And I think I managed to make it on time. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Terena, for that. That's really great to see the way that you guys have kind of brought on CVC and taking the best of CVC's distribution, essentially their direct booking sites, and making sure that you're kind of creating this cohesion of the guest experience, even though it kind of spans across multiple different geos. So how do you leverage basically Brazilian-based, direct booking sites to drive bookings into Florida-based kind of booking sites? And so having that partnership is really creative and really great to see that you're driving increased direct bookings through that, which is actually a great point for a lot of the PMCs on the line. If you have concentrated inventory in a certain area and you know that there's a sister market that you're not necessarily tapped into, maybe there is opportunity for strategic partnership there between a direct booking site of a sister company, let's say in an urban market, and if you're serving kind of the rural market right outside of it, why not link together and kind of provide more inventory access without directly competing against one another? I think that would be interesting to see that kind of model take off to drive more visibility into these direct booking sites. And in a lot of ways, it would mirror what VHC is doing within the CVC network. So Terena, fantastic content there. Thank you very much for that. We've talked a lot about direct bookings, and Terena, I want to keep it going with you a little bit because you touched very directly on this subject, which is what exactly is a healthy distribution mix, right? Like you highlighted the fact that VHC doesn't actually have any particular distribution channel over 35%. And so obviously we don't want to necessarily cannibalize our OTA revenues for the benefit of direct bookings, or maybe we do, right? Because we do see kind of the optimized revenue there. But I have to believe that there is a healthy mix there and a healthy space for everything. So walk us through a little bit VHC's specific approach into what a healthy mix looks like, and what would that look like? It's not 35% now. Is it going to stay in that mix, or are you trying to drive more direct bookings to be over 35% of your distribution?
I think it's a great point. And what we realize is that when we have a healthy mix of distribution, we are able to play better with our ADRs and occupancy as well. Mm-hmm. So what I would say that naturally a great result comes because when you are dependent in just one or two, you are dependent also. So if you have an issue with your ADR, if you feel the occupancy is very low, probably you need to sacrifice a little bit of your profitability to be able to have more occupancy, having more guests. But when you have a healthier mix of distribution, you can play around and work with different partners. So what we are seeing as an impact is that we are managing to have a better occupancy in advance. So we need to use less the tactics of the last minute. And as you mentioned as well, the beauty about having different channels is that you can play also with seasonality, especially in the international markets like Orlando or Miami, which is fantastic. So that's the way that we are working right now.
So you're talking about being able to have a healthy mix of basically seasonality across, or basically leveling out the seasonality curves through direct bookings and driving more direct bookings there. We'll go with Oliver on this one. Do you see, where do you think that the direct bookings, what do you think a healthy distribution would be? And are you finding that through your direct marketing campaigns that you're specifically only targeting direct bookings? Or do you see a world in which you can kind of drive brand awareness, but also drive that brand awareness to the OTAs for your specific listings?
Yep. So I think if it is a guest who has stayed at your property, you've collected their information and then now you're going to retarget them. Trying, of course, to push those guests towards direct bookings is best. You're making a little bit more revenue in those cases. Then OTAs definitely still have a place for bringing in new guests who haven't stayed at your property before, who you can convert to those direct bookings. So, I mean, the more total people you've had who have stayed with your brand in the past, whose information you've collected, now they all live in that database that you have of potential direct bookings in the future. I do think that the OTAs still have that great opportunity for bringing new people to your brand here.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. It's like a snowball effect, right? You're pushing a small snowball up the hill, and then finally you have enough to roll it down and start distancing yourself from the OTAs. When you're starting out, you do have to rely on that stuff. So getting it, rely on the OTAs. And then once you get your own direct site, you start messing with those percentages, right? Like Trina was saying, to get the good percentage of a healthy mix.
Yeah. And that's a great point too, right? Like there is this healthy mix. Paul, staying with you, what are some of the benefits of using someone like Intercoastal Net Designs, someone who is very industry specific versus kind of more general, website developers?
So I'm trying not to sound salesy here, but obviously we all know that there's certain the vacation rental industry guest has a certain psyche, I guess is the best way to describe it, and kind of tapping into how they behave on a website and understanding that is one of our strongest suits, and not just from the website development portion, but from the marketing side as well. I mean, I've got a team of marketers that we do SEO and pay-per-click and email, social media for these guests or for these property managers. And if we came into this industry and didn't know the history and looking at analytics, looking at things like what happened with COVID, and looking at booking pace as far as when people are booking for certain times, it's everything changes year by year, but there's still that overall kind of and I guess mentality for what people are actually doing on the sites and knowing their behavior. I predicted way back when, just after COVID hit and it was everything was locked down. I was like, when it opens up, this is gonna be huge, and it was. I mean, our servers almost crashed the day a beach was announced. Whenever it was open again, people were like, all right, I'm out, and knowing that behavior is kind of what drives IC&D, and that's kind of what that niche is. So we build that into our sites, we build that into our products, and that's all we do: websites and marketing.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's the purchasing patterns of the guest and what basically attracts them to certain booking sites and the flows that they're used to navigating, right? And so really maximizing the UX for that conversion rate, exactly, which we saw in your presentation, I think. All right, Oliver, question for you. What are some of the primary differences between the email marketing and the text message-based marketing? I know that when you walked us through in your presentation that you mirrored the two, but what can you do on text that you aren't really going to be able to do on email, or vice versa?
Yep. So Really, with text, it's just having that direct line of communication. Those open rates are just so much stronger. So, just putting out, making them a lot snappier, making them a lot shorter, but just saying, hey, here's what we have for you. Do you want it or not? Whereas the email, we see that more of a place to build your brand a little bit more concretely. If you have luxury villas, you can convey that a lot better in an email than you can, in a text, whether that's through photos, putting Instagram, user-generated content, whatever that might be. So I see email as being more of a place to build your brand, even if you're trying to have a specific call to action, whereas text is very call to action focused there.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense, because the text message is really more the immediacy of what you need to do in that moment versus, a website is more like more of a storefront, right? Where you can kind of browse and kind of see what you like, what you don't. Text messaging is more instant for you right there.
Correct. And that's where that holistic strategy comes in. So, really not focusing on one specific channel. I mean, every channel has its benefits there.
Yeah. All right. Last question to you, Tarana. It's from our audience. And it's primarily driven by the OTAs provide certain protections, whether it's damage waiver, whether it's guaranteed payments, payment processing, whatever it may be. How do you provide that same type of experience, and how does the organization have the same type of assurances and coverage through its direct booking site? Have you gone through third-party partners? Are you building things inherently yourself? How are you making sure that the two experiences are seamless?
As I mentioned, experience for us is key, not only for the guests, but also for the homeowner. So our expansion team, especially in the US, they are working with an amazing insurance company. So to your point, even if it's direct booking, it's important for us that we work with an insurance partner and that we do have this accounted, because this is going to not only impact the experience of our guests, but also of the homeowner, right? Because one of our promises is that we're going to ensure the quality and the good maintenance of their properties.
You are looking externally for that insurance kind of solution that you are able to offer on direct bookings necessarily. So it's not.
We guarantee that, yeah.
Okay. All right. Is the insurance the only area in which you are subsidizing versus the OTAs? Or, in terms of payment processing, I know it could be a little difficult in some international markets. Are you working with multiple payment processing tools or a singular one today?
We invest a lot in the team that we do have right now in the operations team. So what I can say is that when it comes to outsourcing, so I would mention that insurance is our main thing. But in addition to that, we do lots of preventive maintenance. We have the operations team that we do have a global leader, and he's doing a tremendous job. And we can see that reflected also, as I mentioned, in our reviews as well, in the experience that we do have.
Got it. Okay. Well, thank you to all of our panelists today. Thank you, Tarana. Thank you, Oliver. Thank you, Paul. A lot of really valuable content. If you're looking to get more information about each one of their offerings or about VHC, we'll share their contact information after today's panel, along with the recording. A little bit of awareness for Guestival. It's coming to Austin, Texas in September. If you're interested in joining us in Guestival, it's a great event where there's this perfect mix of vendors where, if you're exploring on enhancing your tech stack, you can talk to a lot of specific vendors there, networking with PMCs from around the world. As you see, we have Tarana joining us today, Brazilian and Florida-based kind of VHC. And then also just a great opportunity to get in front of Guesty, talk to our product managers, to your CSMs. And then obviously the nightlife in Austin is very vibrant. And so have a drink or two on us if you're joining. So if you have more questions, there's some information there. And so thank you everyone for joining us, and thank you to our panelists.